Right, so how can we stop this slide into the bottomless debt? 27 trillion, we're going to go to 30 trillion next. We're joined now by Congressman Brian Babin of the great state of Texas. Sir, good to have you on. One of the few who stood against the pork and the reckless spending in the year-end spending bill. The president wants to cut all that out and put more money in the pockets of Americans. I want to ask first off, is there any chance that Congress actually cuts out all that pork?
Well, we've been trying to get to, a deal done for months and months and months on end.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, a relief bill should have been negotiated months ago, as I just said, when the threat of a government shutdown did not exist the way it does now. And Speaker Pelosi has leveraged the needs of Americans for her own political gain over and over again, over 40 times that we tried to get the Democrats to come to the table to renew a paycheck protection program. But let me just tell you something. I am supportive of what the president's is trying to do here. I am absolutely not supportive of seeing all of this money going to foreign nations. I would much rather take every dime we can find and waste in foreign aid in this COVID relief package and deliver it back to the U.S. taxpayer rather than to Pakistan for gender studies and Sudan and places like this.
Yeah.
So, it's just the whole process, Rob, was I think flawed from the very, very beginning. We had a bill that was nearly 6,000 pages long. It was so big it broke the Capitol printing press and computers crashed when we tried to upload it over and over again. No amendments were allowed. There was no committee work. People gathered in secret, and then we were told when it was delivered to us, you either take it or leave it. And we only had about 4 hours to read 5,500 plus pages.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we should be giving Americans more money. It's just sad that we're in a situation, sir, where we just have absolutely no money. We've been so mismanaged for so long. We've wasted and squandered so much of our hard-earned capital. I do want to ask you about this, though. How bizarre is this scene politically to you, to have AOC cheering on Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi standing with Donald Trump, and then you've got a lot of fiscal conservatives on the other side of a fight?
Well, let me just say this, Rob. The best stimulus package we could have would be to open up the United States economy again, to continue what we need to be doing. Americans don't want to, and they should not have to depend on the federal government to make ends meet. Yeah. And irresponsible spending is ruining America's economic future and the stability for generations to come. As you said just a second ago, we've got $27 trillion in national debt and record deficit spending for the year 2020. Yep. $3 trillion in deficit spending. $3 trillion. It is so irresponsible. It is irresponsible, and I flat could not vote for this.
Spending twice as much this year as we're bringing in. Twice as much. Think about that. If you have a household, you spend twice as much as you bring in every year. I mean, this is what we do. It's unbelievable. You can't talk about it enough. I want to ask you about this. I want to switch subjects here for a second. I want to talk about the defense spending bill. The president vetoed the defense spending bill today. A lot of talk about Section 230 that protects the big tech companies. What exactly is this all about?
Well, I think the president is right on the money. If we're going to push back on the censorship that we've seen from these great big tech companies, censoring and shadow banning conservatives, pro-lifers, pro-Israel, these types of people on the political spectrum, which includes me and most Republicans, I remain in lockstep with the President of the United States here. I think President Trump has made it clear from the start about what he wanted to see included in the NDAA. And quite frankly, the Democrats refuse to act on this.
Will Congress be able to get around him with a vote?
I'm hoping that we can. You mean
get around the president? Will they be able to get around him?
I'm going to support the president. I can tell you this: it takes a 2/3 vote to override the president. I think they're going to have a hard time overriding him on a veto here. And we need to. And listen, I'm a veteran of the Air Force and the Army, and I can tell you I support my military. But we have to protect the freedom of speech in this country. We've seen this over and over again: suppression of the vote, shadow banning, and censorship. And if we're going to have this repealed, Section 230 in the Communications Decency Act, now is the time, because it's not going to happen if we have a change of administration. Mm-hmm. And that's an if, because I'm going to be an objector on January the 6th and push back on some of this, what we've seen as what I would say is some really shady-looking dealings that have been going on the November 3rd election, when 50% nearly of Americans think that it was a stolen election.
Okay, so we were going to get to that. You're going to contest the election. How many of them are you now in the House? How many do you have? I mean, we talked to a new congressman earlier this week that's going to do the same.
Absolutely. Well, in fact, day before yesterday, I was at the White House with, there were probably 12 of us planning on doing this, and I'm predicting there's going to be more in the House of Representatives, and I'm going to predict that there's going to be at least one, maybe two senators. I'm not at liberty to say who. Okay. You know, you've probably got some ideas as well. Mm-hmm. All it takes is one House member and one senator to have this thing be debated on and then voted up or down. And let me just say this. We have not gotten our day in court. The president's team and those of us who feel like there was a sham election, we have not gotten our day in court, but we will have our day in Congress.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I want to get to something else. If this doesn't work out, if Biden does take the presidency, you wrote an op-ed saying that he will make the country less free. I want to ask, what signs are giving you that concern? What are you worried about?
You know what? His advisors, nobody has pushed back on China, for example, harder than President Trump has. And yet we're already seeing some advisors and appointees of Vice President Biden saying that we need to do more dealings and cooperation with China, for example. Right. Yeah. My gosh, if we've learned anything, Rob, in this past year, it's that we can't trust China. They unleashed COVID on the world. We caught them red-handed. We closed down their embassy in Houston, where part of my district is there in Houston, Harris County. And if we've learned anything, it's that we absolutely cannot trust China. And Kamala Harris is one of the biggest players in trying to reach out to China even more than we have. Yeah. And the American people know that China is not in our best interest, and they've been stealing from us for years. I represent. Yes.
Yeah, it's one thing, and you're right, we got to wrap it up, but you're right. The one thing we have learned over the last few years that has been made very apparent to all Americans is just how severe the threat of China is. And it's good at least that we're awakened to that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yes. Okay. And I continue to be very apprehensive. A Biden administration, we're going to have open borders. We'll have China involved everywhere. We'll push back on the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
Absolutely.
We'll defund police departments and everything else. It's going to be a very, very detrimental to the United States action. Okay,
well, you got the op-ed out. Congressman, we do appreciate your time. Merry Christmas. Thanks for coming on.
Merry Christmas to you, Rob. God bless.
Going to get some breaking news here.